Welcome everyone. For this video, we're going to be talking about how to take worksheets or maybe even quizzes like this from Into Reading and actually creating those as digital assignments for your students. So this first one here is, it looks like a comprehension quiz from the end of one of the books that students might be reading for Into Reading. So how do I take this and make it so that it's something that my students could do at home on the computer? They wouldn't necessarily need this piece of paper. So I've created a new Google form, and that's really where I'm going to start. So I'm going to split my screen so that we can see both items here. And I have my Google form on one side, and this is the quiz that I'm trying to replicate on the other side. If I'm going to be assigning this through Google Classroom, I can always start with a blank quiz in Google Classroom and create it that way. I'm going to show you how to create the form first, and then we'll actually add it to our Google Classroom. So this one is going to be called Helping Each Other Quiz. And I will probably ask my students to type their name because I think it's good practice for them. And then I'm going to add a new question. And this question is going to be multiple choice. So now at this point, I'm basically just replicating this exact quiz for my students. So I've typed my question in there. I've got multiple choice, but it's currently not a quiz. Now, I also have not read this book, so I'm going to just guess what the answer is for this one. But I do want to make this a quiz first. So I'm going to come up to More, and you might see this if you're in full screen here. You'll actually see it right over here. And I'm going to go to my settings. I'm going to choose Quizzes and make this a quiz. So now I have the option to actually choose an answer key, which is good. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to choose my answer key. And again, in this one, I don't know what this story is about, but we're gonna maybe guess that she's helping her dog, because it looks like the rest of the questions have to do with her dog. So I'll go to my answer key and then choose her dog as the correct answer. And you can see up here at the top, I've got 1 point. And so why am I doing that? That's because when my students actually go and take this quiz, I want them to click on what they think is the right answer, and I want it to automatically grade for me this quiz so that I can give my students their grade after, or they can even see their grade after. And then I would just continue on with the other items from this quiz. And I'm typing in all of these responses. And maybe if you know as a grade level you're going to be doing this for all of your reading books for Into Reading, maybe you divide and conquer, right? So we're going to also say that she helps him by giving him food. That seems like the right answer. So I'm making all my questions required. I'm adding in an answer key there, just making it very easy for the students to participate in this. So now let's look at, I've created this quiz, and I want to actually give this to my students through Google Classroom. So I'm going to open up my Google Classroom, and maybe this is something that I'll be doing during our remote learning day. I'm going to click Create at the top, Quiz Assignment. It's going to create a blank quiz for me. What was our helping each other? That was our book. So it created this blank quiz, but I don't really want to use this blank quiz because I created my own. So I'm going to add from my Google Drive a link to that quiz that I just created, which should be, since it's recent, it should be one of the first ones there. Yep, Helping Each Other quiz. Fantastic. I'm going to make sure this grade importing is selected. If I need any directions for the students, I can add those there. And then over on the right hand side, now I only had 2 questions, so I'm going to make it worth 2 points. The due date we'll say is Friday the 28th. We're going to add it into our remote learning topic. And I'm going to click Assign. Before I do that, I want to mention for those of you that are hybrid teachers, you are able to select multiple classes. If you want to select both your in-person and your virtual kids, you can select multiple classes at the same time. If I'm ready to assign this, I can click Assign. I can also come up here at the top right and click Schedule, and that's going to then release that at a certain point. So I'll just click Assign. And then that quiz is ready to go for students. So it's pretty easy once you've created the quiz to add those things into your class there. If I also wanted the students maybe to read the book from Into Reading, I might put the link to the book right here in my description, and then I would have my Google Forms quiz right after that. So let's look at the other type of worksheet that we might want to replicate. So this is something where it's not super easy for me to make these into questions that the students would interact with on a form. And so I want to take this and allow students to, it looks like students will need to underline or maybe highlight even some of the letters within a word. So how do I replicate something like this? I would actually do this one in Google Slides. So if I take this first sentence here, and I'm just going to copy that first sentence, and I'm going to add it to a slide. And there's a few different ways that you can do this, and you maybe spent some time this summer working on honing in your tech skills, and you've learned some ways to do these things. So there's not necessarily a right way, wrong way, or one way is better than the other. It's just whatever you're comfortable with. So I've added my sentence in here for the students. Now I can always just send this to them and have them, they'll click in here and they will, they'll actually go in and they'll highlight those words. What were the directions? Here we go. Read each sentence, find the words that include short vowel sounds. So I might also add this as a directions box. And I just keep that up there at the top. So I can keep it like this, and then students, like I said, can come in here and they can actually highlight on there. The other option, and we've seen some teachers do this before, is once I create this slideshow, so right now I have 2 items on that slide. Once I create it, I'm going to choose File, Download as a JPEG. This is going to download it as a picture. Now what I'm able to do, let me delete these things, is I can actually add this picture as a background. And some of you might be familiar with this process. I'm going to add the picture as a background. So now students aren't able to change this. But I do still need students to be able to highlight or underline those short vowels. So if I want them to highlight or underline the short vowels, maybe what I do is I actually add little markers for the kids. So that's about the size of a letter. Let's see. Yeah, that looks good. So this is a little marker for the students. Well, I still want them to be able to see the letter behind this marker. And right now, if I do that, it doesn't work. So if I want them to see the letter behind the marker, I'm going to come to my fill options. I'm going to choose custom. I'm going to actually make mine yellow. Let's get the yellow in there. And then I'm going to change the transparency so that when a student actually drags that over the letter, I can see the letter behind it. So maybe there are multiple short vowels, so all I need to do here is just copy and paste. And so now they have these markers. So my directions really shouldn't say underline the letters. It might say highlight the letters with the markers. So they can drag those. That's just, again, another way to do that. So there are several different options for taking worksheets that maybe you've passed out in the past and you want to limit the amount of paper that's being passed around to students. And so we are really able to use Google Forms and Google Slides to replicate a lot of this stuff, which makes it very easy for us to transition to remote learning. Of course, if you have any questions, please contact the Connected Learning team at clteam@tsc.k12.in.us. Thanks for watching.